The View co-host Sunny Hostin claims eclipse caused by climate change. The View co-host Sunny Hostin blamed Monday's solar eclipse, Friday's earthquake, and the expected cicada breeding season on climate change. Quote, all those things together would maybe lead one to believe that either climate change exists or something is really going on, she said Monday. About 3 things are going on, yes, but they have nothing to do with climate change. Cicada breathing season, indeed. Complications have ceased. Well, of course, Jack. I mean, you know me, there would never be any tech issues with the stream. A 4.8 magnitude earthquake was felt across New York and New Jersey on Friday. On Monday, the highly anticipated solar eclipse spread across continental US. Hostin also claimed that her studio makeup artist put on her coat and ran down the hallway during the earthquake, saying, Jesus is coming and the rapture is here. So what we're seeing here is, regardless how religious you are, chat, what we're seeing here is that the crew of The View are just as stupid as the cast. But co-hosts Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg pushed back on her theory. Quote, except earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground. It can't, Behar said. There you go. She marginally above the average of the IQ level of the View casting crew. How about the warming of the planet? She responded. Okay, so what we're seeing here is, and I know this is saying a lot. What we're seeing here is one of the stupider members of the View's panel. I know it's hard to wrap your head around such depths of intellectual depravity, and yet here she is. The View co-host Sunny Hostin, there she is, and there is the eclipse. Quote, no, it happens, Goldberg said, and the eclipse, they've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen. Whoopi Goldberg demonstrating herself to be actually correct on all counts. It's not hard to be correct about that, but still, it's The View, you know, they find everything hard. Hostin pointed out how it was the first time in 100 years that 2 different cicada broods would emerge for their mating seasons at the same time, but Goldberg promptly shut her down, arguing it happens every 17 years. I actually don't know much about that topic, so Goldberg may know more than me on that topic, so fair play to her. Co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin joked that Trump caused the earthquake. Quote, I read online that the earthquake epicenter was actually at Bedminster, New Jersey. Fun fact, where it originated with Trump. That, I think, was meant as a joke. Others have caught flack for similar takes, including Green Party, of course, member and US Senate candidate for New Jersey, Christina Amira Khalil, who went viral after she posted a similar theory to social media, claiming the earthquake that rocked New York and New Jersey on Friday was caused by climate change. Quote, I experienced my first earthquake in New Jersey. We never get earthquakes, she wrote. The climate crisis is real. The weirdest experience ever. I believe that's the tweet that we saw last stream that we didn't actually get around to covering, but yeah. So the climate change thing, let's assume for a second it is exactly as described. It does not affect tectonics, as far as I know, at all. I don't think there's any part of the climate change theory that proposes a way it could affect tectonics. It affects the heat of the atmosphere and the stability of the biosphere, but it doesn't get below the Earth's crust, as far as I know. Maybe there is some way, but I've never heard of one. Now, and that said, the whole, hottest year on record thing, sadly, you can't trust that either. There's a recent study found that 96% of the methods used to, of the thermometers placed around the globe to measure the global temperature are in places which are significantly higher than the global average temperature. Significantly higher, like a hot spot, higher than they should be, higher than the area generally. For example, in paved tarmac car parks on top of tarmac roofs, near chemical runoff pipes where the bacteria increases the heat in the area. 96% of them were in hotspots. Big coincidence. And if you look at satellite data, which assesses the temperature of the Earth by a different measure, but still just a reliable one, that actually finds that the increase in global temperature over the last few years has been pretty small. And within expectations, if you do not include the theory of climate change. So I am, in principle, I have always been, in principle, open to the notion of climate change being true, but the more I see, the more it seems like it probably isn't. And I don't believe that just because it's being utilized for unethical, government corporate means, that therefore it must be a hoax. I would prefer to see some actual data to imply it, but I have seen some data for it now. And I think there are many reasons to doubt large parts of it. Now, if you were going to try to implement a theory like that, implement a theory which is purportedly scientific, but is in fact not true, and in fact just for the benefit of massive corporations and governments, but you want scientists to work on it. You want the entire scientific institution to never notice that there's a problem, to continue doing their work on climate science, to be genuinely like quality meteorologists would never notice that the whole thing's bunk. How would you do it? You f with the initial data, the first-hand collected data. And that's what it seems like they've done. Now, when Evil Author says something like climate change is all from the sun, min-max cycles, a meteorologist is going to eat you alive for saying something like that, because no. Let's not start down the road of implying that we completely understand what these effects are being caused by. The fact is that there are dozens of big factors that affect the climate. The sun cycles affect it, the Earth's like oscillations between ice age and whatever else, arid age, I guess. Like oscillations between different climate conditions on Earth, and also effects that are affected by so many minor factors that they're essentially random. And there are probably many more besides. I'm not an expert. Let's not assume that it's something simple. However, the climate change narrative itself, aside from simply the climate, but the climate change narrative with all the baggage it comes with, that appears to be propped up almost entirely by bunk data. And as Duchess says, there are large parts of quote-unquote green ideas, which in principle we can all agree on. Pollution, bad, and hey, waste is bad. And I don't think it's so bad you should sacrifice things to avoid it, because in some cases waste is actually part of a good process. I'll talk about that some other time, but waste is not exclusively a bad thing. But you don't want to be having too much waste. You want to reduce that. You want to be efficient. You want to be clean. So these are things that we can agree on. But the idea that we are destroying the Earth, destroying the biosphere, appears to be significantly in question. But the motion would be the same were it conservatives running this and using proper science. The direction would be roughly the same, but the extremity would be significantly less. And that is the problem with the climate change movement, is most of what it's doing in general is okay. The research into solar, research into wind, it's good that we understand this stuff. Research into hydro and wave power and all kinds of other technologies. Research into electric vehicles, into battery tech, all this, it's good that we pursue this, but massive government subsidies and pursuing these technologies to the exclusion of other tech that works, like fossil fuels, and like also methods to extract them from the earth, including fracking and just normal oil drilling, because there's still plenty of oil to drill, and measures to try to with individuals to quote-unquote reduce their carbon footprint, attempts to charge them for using vehicles and using planes, all this stuff, it goes too far. And regulations placed on businesses, particularly medium and small businesses, and even large ones which just aren't quite as large as the monopoly leader, these are where it's gone too far. But in principle, little of what they're doing about climate change is wrong at a low level in terms of government policy. I don't think most conservatives would mind it if it was at a low level. Either way, let's move on for now. Yes, I think no one I know thinks that nuclear energy is like something we shouldn't be pursuing. And I'll reiterate my support that whilst fusion is a really cool technology, it is absolutely not ready, and no one should be like waiting with bated breath for that to solve all our problems. No. Fission is mature enough that it could replace pretty much all our power generation, and it would be significantly more efficient than anything else that we've been using. But even still, fossil fuels is okay. We can continue using that for a while longer. And there's plenty more oil in the ground. We're not going to run out. But nuclear fission power is reliable, much safer than it's ever been before. To the point that, and even the chemical waste produced it's not difficult to store safely, and it's clearly the correct answer. Hydroelectric as much as you can get, because that one is basically free. It's very efficient, but beyond that, nuclear fission and the occasional fossil fuel plant. Duchess, France is significantly nuclear powered, yes. I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure if it's 90%, but it's a lot. Germany is the contrast, where Germany decided to rely on natural gas, and most of it comes from Russia, and then Russia bumped up the price, so now Germany has to kick their coal back into gear just to survive. France made the smarter choice there. And the UK, I think, has been not as quick off the mark with nuclear, and nowhere near as much as I'd like, but generally the UK has been pushing in that direction for the last decade or so. So hopefully we'll get there. Chat, we've been talking a little bit now about space, about celestial events, and about science. Now we're going to continue that trend with something that a lot of you saw before the stream, but let's re-enjoy it anyway, because I think this is the kind of science. This is the kind of science of color that we've all been missing all our lives, and frankly, we're racist for not hearing more of. So sit down and listen. A black woman is talking. And also a Democrat lawmaker, by the way.
And sometimes you've heard the word full moon. Sometimes you need to take the opportunity just to come out and see a full moon is that complete rounded circle, which is made up mostly of gases. And that's why the question is why or how could we as humans live on the moon? Are the gases such that we could do that? The sun is a mighty powerful heat. It is almost impossible to go near the sun. The moon is more manageable, and you will see in a moment, or not a moment, you'll see in a couple of years that NASA is going back to the moon.
You thought it was all over when she said the moon is mostly gas. You thought it was all over. And then she said that it's almost impossible to get near the sun. Now you might be thinking, chat, is this just a random black woman? Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of, I don't know actually. I think someone said earlier Texas, but either way of somewhere. Democrat, surprisingly. Congresswoman. So yes, a lawmaker. If you live in the state that she is in, well, actually not the state, but if you live in the entirety of America, then she has a significant position of authority in determining what laws you must follow. And she does not know what the moon is made of or what the sun is. I mean, she said it's a great heat. I don't think she knows that it's a big ball of plasma. I don't think she knows that. Now, what I want to say on this is, one, corruption and vote rigging, yes, probably. But two, luckily, this kind of policy is not very likely to actually affect you. Like, this kind of lack of understanding is not likely to actually affect you. Now, what else is she wrong about? That's a good question. But, yeah, there's a lot of normies who don't understand things. But a lot of what they don't understand is stuff that isn't that important to politics, to like day-to-day stuff. And that's okay. They don't need to understand that. Normies don't really need to. But of course, you know, education is important. Probably would have been to her had she got any. The field says, to be fair, you have to have an IQ under 70 to work in government. Well, at least as a Democrat, yes. Yes, Duchess, we've seen that. We've shown that on stream. That is funny. The idea that Guam might capsize. I think I remember seeing that. Yeah. Do you know something similar about him and this woman? Hank Johnson there. You know something similar about him and Sheila Jackson Lee here? There's something similar. Yeah, that's it. You got it, chat. Look at them closely. They are both Democrats. Next meme.